It is your birthright to be creative and to be abundant. And why that is so, you are the creator to be able to decide what perspective you want to take in your life. That's how much of a creator that you are. You're able to decide whether you want to be a creator or not. You are capable to decide whether you want to put that lens on or not and see that perspective or not. When we look at society as a whole, and I'm also coming from a design background of 25 years. So when I see society in the world and I look at history, everything that I look at from humanity's perspective has been created. It is the innate ability that we have as animals to think of something and then to actually make it happen. But there's something innate in us that makes us ponder, why are we here? Why are we here? What is the purpose of this? Because sometimes it doesn't make any sense. It almost feels like a cosmic joke sometimes. And then you flip that over and you realize, oh, this does have value. This does have meaning. Oh, and I play an actual role in this. If I don't participate, this is where everything feels like it's against me. But when I start to participate, everything starts to work with me. And I'm a co-creator of that. And then the idea of abundance. And most of the time, we're quick to think that abundance means money, means wealth. Money is a piece of paper, some coins, and it's the biggest magic trick that we have in society, where a piece of paper will make you do some outrageous things. Abundance can mean lots of things. Abundance in your health is top notch. Abundance in your mental well-being, in your physical well-being, in your emotional well-being, in your spiritual well-being. Having all of that, the resources that you have, the relationships that you have, make you feel abundant. The spiritual wealth that I carry around with me, I've had people look at me with hatred and envy because money can't buy the work that I've put into myself. The light that shines out, you can't get in a grocery store or you can't get in a store anywhere. You can't buy that. You can't go on Amazon and buy that. There's no hot, cute bag, no fancy car, no big house that's going to make you feel whole and complete and abundant. So when we think of abundance, it is this feeling that we carry around with us. It's the feeling that we have that gives us confidence because we've been able to create the life that we have. There's nothing in the world that you touch unless you live literally in the dirt somewhere off to the side and you're not online. Even if you were online, then you'd have a device that somebody designed. The house that you live in or apartment or wherever, the place that you live in, the transportation that you use, even the food that you eat, the restaurants that you go to, the clothes that you wear, the cities that you live in, the technology that you use, the products and services that you consume. Everything has been a matter of design. Design, building, creating is all the same of us having some idea in our head that we want to bring out into the world to make something better. All the machinery that we use to help us, everything that we put forth. It's not just fun paints and art. It's beautiful to have that expression, but it's also everything that we touch. The devices that we're on were designed, were thought of, were constructed, were of idea in somebody's head. Wouldn't it be great if we could have this? Wouldn't it be great if this could be better? When I look at the work that I want to do here, is that I want to help people look at how do you save yourself? How do you help yourself? How do you figure out how to play the best role and lead yourself, take accountability for yourself, and have the responsibility for your own life so that we're not pointing fingers at someone else, waiting for somebody else to pick up the pieces. But what about your life? And at the end of your life, you can look back and feel like everything that was inside of you, you completed. Everything that was inside of you, you put out into the world just for your own personal satisfaction because we have the capabilities to do that. It's within us. Anytime you go travel and you go to another country, what are you looking at? What are you wanting to explore? The culture. Culture is creativity. It's an expression of that group of people and how they want to live their lives. The architecture of the buildings, the temples that they're in, the places that they worship, the monuments that they built to honor their own history and their past, the clothes that they wear, the festivals that they have, the food that they make. It's unique to that group. And we go and we travel and we want to experience these expressions. This is all creativity. So to say that it's not part of what we want to do, or people get mixed up in this, and this is something that I have thought for a really long time, that people don't understand this word, or they don't like to identify as a creative. I worked with individuals who were designers. They had a portfolio. They went to a job interview. They got a job. They sat at the desk. They got the projects, and they still felt like they weren't creative. Blew my mind. Literally blew my mind. There's this weird top notch, or this sort of like enigma we have on this label of an artist or a creative. Well, I can't be this. If you're picking out the things in your life, and I hope you are, I hope you're taking some of that. Like, you had to pick something, even if you don't think it was a choice, it was a choice that you made, that you're designing everything. And if we have some intention behind it and we have some consciousness behind that, then you can fine tune those little areas and those places that you're not satisfied with, or that have lost its own magic and its own wonderfulness in your life. We don't have to settle, because the opposite of that, and again, you can choose whatever you want, because that is by your design, you can choose your perspective. Then we're impoverished and we're laborers. We're factory workers. We're industrial workers. That was really great at a certain time, but we now have this exponential wealth around us where we can have lots of things. We can have it all. And it's going to differ for each one of us. What I want is not what you want. And that's the beauty of it, that we can all come together. And what I have to offer to help you is something different than what you have to offer to help me. And we have an exchange. That's what a whole marketplace is for, that we're solving problems. Solving problems is a creative solution to say, I can bring something to a marketplace. I can solve a problem that helps somebody out for the betterment, so that we can evolve. The evolution in humanity has always been with us. It is in our deepest desires to do that. It is in what drives us to keep pushing forward. Otherwise, we'd still be in huts, sitting around a fire, not doing anything. It's up to you to decide which path you want to take. I want to get into a place where you feel empowered to run your life, be the captain of your ship, designing the things, creating the things that you want, getting out of the way of those emotions that make you stuck, the places that keep you hung up, because I've spent lots of years doing that. I've also spent lots of years designing, and I've applied all of this thinking together to say, well, if I take this practice and I use this understanding and I take some of these spiritual teachings, which everything I read, when I look at spiritual texts, when I look at business texts, I love business, worked with a lot of businesses, I find actually spiritual teachings in there. A lot of those business books talk about mindset work, energetics, leadership, relationships, how to engage with people, gratitude. Very spiritual teachings in a business book. I read spiritual text, talks about business, how to be fair. What are the laws? How do you need what's your role? How do you connect? It all comes together. And that fine thread that I kept seeing over and over, which was really difficult to untangle, was that this role of being a creator, this idea that in our own little ways, we can carve out our own path. The pioneers did it back in the day. Everyone had to kind of get their own territory and their own land. Our ancestors did a lot more than we do today. They were able to build their own homes, put gardens in the earth, till their own food, make their own clothes. We barely know how to do much of that. We have to really go and make ourselves learn these things. So the idea that you can create whatever you want in your life, we have so many more tools in front of us. It's a really great time. And I feel like we don't have to be in the mindset of lack. We don't have to have any sort of reason to be in our own way. Like, there's a certain point where you realize, when you've been stuck in the mud a long time and you get out of it, or you've been in sadness and grief, and this is a real thing, that you can get out of it if you want to. And it can be a quick shift, and you can just start moving and creating. A lot of the times when I look at therapies, or anyone that's burnt out from their really heavy jobs, their really labor-intensive jobs, the advice is relax, and go do something that you love. Most people don't know what they love because they spent so much time with their heads down working. A lot of that also includes art or some level of creativity because that moves the flow through. It makes you feel like a child. It gets you out of your head. It helps you move through emotions. It just helps you on so many levels. So if we can get there before we get burnt out, before we get tired, before we get stuck, and we just start moving, if we get still, if we're like, I don't know how to get out of this place, just start creating. It doesn't matter what it is. It really doesn't matter what it is. It's just that you're creating something that you love. And if you're like, I don't know what I love, what interests you? Hobbies, do-it-yourself projects. It's putting things in motion. The only thing that we know for sure is that things need to change. Things need to move. Energy has to flow. We don't want it stifled. We're mostly made up of water. If you ever watched water, and if you keep water in a still basin, it gets stagnant. It gets grimy. It produces disease. It needs to flow. It needs to ebb. It needs oxygen. It needs to move. It's like trying to hold on to a wave. You can't do that. So the idea that you can have whatever you want. You can think whatever you want. That's the trick to life. You can think whatever you want and you can start bringing that into your life. The object and the goal is, what is it that you want to think? What is it that you want? How do you want to construct this? And if we put a little bit of intention and thought behind it, you can actually start to cultivate things that you really cherish and not feel like everything's just thrown on you. But it's always your choice. It's always your choice to decide which way you want to go. And we can change the world. I know sometimes it feels really overwhelming when we see so much heaviness happening in the world. We see there's a lot of heaviness. And I've had that moment too, where it's like, well, how can I help? What is it that I can do in the world? Well, I can only do what I can do. I'm not here to save the world. Sorry to tell you, I'm not here to save the world. I'm just here to save me, and I'm here to share it with you. I'm here to have a conversation with you about that so that that can maybe turn your perspective, because that's always the best thing, when you can read a text or you can see or hear something that gives you a new perspective in life. And that just gives you that 1 degree shift where you can go and make a difference for yourself. And that is a ripple effect. I can maybe affect a few people around me, and they kind of like, hey, maybe let me try this idea on of what does it feel like if I'm really intentionally, actively being in this co-creative moment and this co-creative like motion and mindset. What can I then do with my life? If I decide that I have value and the things around me have value and I want to move that forward, what will that be like? How will that change? How will my standards change? And things will change. Things will change. If you stick around me long enough, or even it won't even take that long, you will change. If you want to take some of these things on, your standards change, your values change, they level up. I have value. I can walk into a room and know that no matter what anybody says or thinks or does, doesn't change me, and they can be who they are. And can't we all just get along? And nobody is at fault for my own well-being. I'm in charge of that. It's a lot of power. It's a lot of power. And we tend to live in a culture in the United States and maybe in some other countries as well, where we like to point the finger and we like to blame. We want to put it on somebody else. But here I want to have a conversation, ongoing conversation. Well, if I can take that on, if I can be responsible for my life and myself, and I show up every day, what magnitude can I have within my own life? And maybe that'll have a ripple effect. I'm not going to know all of the ripple effects that I make. I can see from the comments, which I have loved, and you have been sharing such wonderful things, and you're brave. You're so brave and you're so lovely, all of you, for sharing. And hopefully that does something for you so that when you move through life, you have a unique perspective in what you're sharing and what you're doing and how you're showing up. And then that changes the people that you touch. And wouldn't that just be a great place to live, just this little tiny effect. I think it's not one person that's going to be able to come in and change everything. That never happens. And the way that we have been building society, we love to just mock those that are up on top. And we want to knock them down as soon as they get up top. So even if there was somebody that could save us, I don't even know if we'd be able to listen. So it's going to take all of us doing small little bits and pieces and having a ripple effect and a collective movement than just one person. So we all have to show up and do our part. So this is about being that creator, whatever that is, the designer, the builder, the architect. There's plenty of books out there on that. There's plenty of mindsets on that out there. And if you do a business, if you are trying to be in your career, there's always going to be a level of how are you showing up and being responsible? This goes into anything in your relationships. Are you going to expect the other person to tend to all of your needs and wants? That's not going to go very far. That's a codependent relationship. We all want these really great, wonderful relationships and careers and jobs. The higher up you go, the more responsibility you have. If you want to lead, if you want to have any sort of role in life, you have to take accountability and responsibility. And you have to lead a charge. And you have to show up in a certain way. And there's a lot of creativity that comes in that. And how do you orchestrate and design and build something that has a foundation to it, that has structure to it? And so we're building this like any sort of society. We're building another society. I made a video on it. It was a little obscure of like, how are we preparing for the next evolution? This is it. Where we're taking responsibility for ourselves. We're not waiting for the retirement plan or the 401k to kick in. That's not probably going to be there. How are we helping our own selves with mental health? If we know doom scrolling isn't helping us, can we stop? If I really want to go do something that's creative and we're trying to build a society where we have all this extra time, all of this extra time for ourselves. For what? What is it that you're going to do? We already have a lot of conveniences. We have more conveniences than we've ever had before. You can go on your app and get whatever you want. Anything. Like we're now at the level of you can go get drugs if you want. Alcohol. And a few other things I probably can't mention on here. Doesn't take much. So we've built a society with all the conveniences all the time. And we have higher mental health issues. We feel more isolated and alone than before. And I'm just like, my first thing is, well, we're not very spiritual. And the memes that we keep posting, and everyone thinks that they're having a spiritual awakening for what? What are you going to do with it? You woke up for what? To sit there? No, you woke up to go create something. You woke up to go do something. You woke up so that you can be a pillar of light in the world by your actions, so that you're motivating other people around you. And it doesn't matter what they think, because they're going to have their own journey to go through. And they're probably going to think an array of things between some envy, jealousy, and admiration, because that's the flip side of it. When you're doing something that they wish they could, you get both sides of the coin. It's real fun. But it doesn't matter, because you're on your journey and they're on their journey. And at some point, we all have to coexist, because each one of us is living in our own reality because of our mindset and the way that we perceive things. We have a shared common space, but we have our own perspectives and our own sense of reality and the way that we're looking at things. All of you watching this video, you're each going to take something different away. Same video, same words, same message. Each one of you will come out with something completely different. So it's up to you to decide how you want to create, if you want to even be a creator. If you want to believe that everyone's just going to do it for you, you can do that too. You can believe whatever you want, but understand that power. And when you feel helpless and you feel like you don't know where to go, take a step back and be like, I can create this. I can decide to be over here in lack and poverty mindset, or I can be in an abundant mindset. I can be in a creative mindset. I can decide. And then from that mindset, I can move forward. The purpose of that hermit video, I almost deleted it. I wasn't going to keep it. I had no idea people wanted to talk about it. It was just an experience I had. So that you can cultivate the wisdom, the insight, it's hiding in the dark. You have to go into the dark and bring it into the light to share it. And the wisdom is that you take action from the learned lessons that you've gained. Otherwise, it's just insight. They're just words. Wisdom is when you've actually used the teachings. I learned from this. I'm wiser now. I know better. I know how to handle this more. I can get myself out of a depression. I can get myself out of this funk. I know how I work. I know how I'm about. I know how I need to create a scenario that makes this so that I can keep moving forward. Because that's all that there is to do, is we just keep moving forward. We fall, we pick ourselves up, and we move forward. And the next time I'm going to create, I'm going to design, I'm going to build a scenario that maybe I don't have to fall as hard, or it's going to be a quicker landing or a softer fall, and I can bounce back up instead of it laying me out, because I'm choosing to do that. And I'm understanding where my boundaries are, where my standards are, who I need to let in. And I'm operating at a very different level because I'm really embodying this co-creator. I'm co-creating with the universe. I'm co-creating with God. I'm co-creating with spirit, Mother Nature, myself. And we're all coexisting together. Thank you for your comments. I love them. They inspire me. You inspire me. I love that you're here. You are warming my heart. I'm so happy to be able to talk about this, that some of you want to stick around and keep listening. The ideas that we grow and that we keep building upon this idea of how do we navigate this internal system and build the life that we want in a way that isn't just about the money. I see so many coaches that are just like, I made 10K and 20K, and like, money's cool, but it's just a vehicle to a means. If you're not happy with yourself, it's just going to magnify that even more when you get money. So let's have a life that we like love, and it doesn't matter what that is. And if you want to stay in hermit mode, fantastic. Let's figure out what that can do for you, whether you want to be extroverted, introverted, something in between. We all go through our phases. I've been in hermit mode multiple times. One for 7 years, one for a couple years, like 3.5. I don't know. There's a whole new way of living after COVID that's been changing. So we get to design whatever we want. Just know that you can figure out, and you can have whatever you want. You can design and decide it, whatever perspective it is that you want. You can have whatever you want if you so choose to. It's up to you. Thank you for being here. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.